Welcome to the Healers Podcast, where we inspire and guide healers through business expansion. We give voice to incredibly abundant healers to share their stories. We dive into the quantum field to unlock the energies of conscious creation. We also develop digital tools to help you grow, which you can find on healless.com. I'm your host, Yuli, and I'm grateful you chose to join this space. Now let's go deep. Hello, dear friends, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Healers Podcast. Today we have a special treat, a dear friend, Alister Gray. He's here to talk about becoming a heart-centered leader, about building courses, building programs, and building his love movement, which is such an incredible initiative. He's been in the space for a long time, serving people in a powerful way through coaching, teaching, training, writing, and speaking. And he's on a mission to serve millions of people, helping them to live the life they imagine and to find a greater sense of meaning and purpose with themselves. He's been fortunate to work with entrepreneurs, business owners, coaches, academics, and creatives from all walks of life, including founders, CEOs, senior executive, Grammy Award winners, musicians, and employees at some of the world's most well-known brands, such as Google, Nike, Dropbox, to name a few. Alister, welcome to the podcast. So amazing to have you. And as you know, I like to set intention for each episode. And for this one, I just want to inspire our listeners to follow their path, to open their hearts, and to find their mission just like you did. And I cannot wait to hear your incredible story and journey there.
Thank you so much, Yuli. What a pleasure it is to be here with you today. And following on from your intention, my own one would be that those who are listening to this feel inspired, but also encouraged to share whatever gifts they have with the world, knowing that there are so many people that need to receive it. There are so many people that need to listen to the message that they have to share.
Amazing. And, another thing I like to do on this podcast is this non-linear timeline. And before we get into your story and how you got there, can you tell us capture the moment of you today? What's your mission today? What have you come to this world to do? And what are you doing about that gift? And then I would love to kind of reverse back and hear how you got there.
Beautiful. Thank you, Yuli. My mission now is probably the simplest it's ever been over the last 14 or 15 years from being on this journey. And it's went through many iterations, but the space I've arrived to is to give love and to be love in the world. And what that means is, how can I use every part of my experience, the wisdom that I've gained, the lessons that I've learned in entrepreneurship, and also the lessons from my own spiritual path and growth, in order to serve others and to awaken love in as many hearts as possible. So that's the mission that I've been called to, is to awaken love in individuals and then collectively, in the hope that that love then plants some beautiful seeds for future generations.
Amazing. First of all, love those high vibrations that we're starting with. But as you know, a lot of people in the space, they love to talk about the love and peace and high vibes and all of that, but they don't do much about it. I always like to say, there's like the high intention, right? But there's also the inspired action. That's the second part of it. And I feel like the second part sometimes get kind of overlooked, but you're actually one of the people that are actually doing something about it and creating a whole movement. So can you talk about that?
Yeah, when you connect to this sense of purpose and mission, I think love in action is when, the true definition of love in action is when you marry the being with the doing. And awakening to this sense of purpose and mission, I was fortunate that I've had a career where I was very good at the doing. I say I'm a recovering high achiever. And so the doing was always something that was my natural mode of operating. And when I began going on this more introspective journey, this journey of self-inquiry and self-discovery, I had to relearn how to be, I had to remember how to be. And so a large part of my focus became that, how do I connect to who I really am? How do I connect to this space within me that is purposeful and full of ambition and aspiration to make the world a better place? And so once, I found that within myself, I was able to reintegrate the doing part of me and say, let's bring together all of the skills and the experience that I have in order to push this mission forward. And the thing that drives me, if you like, or motivates me each day is thinking that if I don't share this, then in some ways it's a disservice. It's a disservice to people who would benefit from the experiences that I've had. It's been a disservice to, future generations. I'm a father. I have an 8-year-old girl. And I feel like, there's a real responsibility to take action. And so that inspires me each day, even to do the actions that feel uncomfortable or that, that sometimes the mind wants to avoid. It kind of pushes you beyond that comfort zone.
I love talking about things that people want to avoid. I feel uncomfortable. So can we talk more about what shape and form this beautiful concept is taking and how are you building it?
Yeah, so in 2022, I had a real moment of pure clarity around my mission and purpose. And that was, the message of love being at the center of that and how to awaken people to what I would call our essential nature or our true nature, the space within each of us that is unchangeable, untouched, that is pure, that is whole. And the awakening came after sitting in a medicine ceremony in Mexico. And in the minutes and hours that followed that ceremony, I began writing down really a stream of consciousness around how can you help individuals to awaken to this essential nature? What are the stages? And I wrote down these 8 stages of awakening love. And as I wrote these stages down, I began to realize that those were the stages that I had been through myself on my spiritual journey, but also that I had encountered while sitting in the medicine ceremonies. And so I wrote down these 8 stages, and I knew when I was writing this down that this was really what I was to teach. This was going to be life's work, if you like. And I knew that it was going to inform a course called the I Am Love course. And I knew that it was going to inform a community called the We Are Love community. And I also knew that it was going to inform a book and also a foundation, a not-for-profit. And so really that's at the heart of what I'm creating now is I'm creating a community that is dedicated to awakening to their true nature, to their true self, and also, creating courses and experiences that allow people to dive in deeper to this process of self-inquiry. And, these experiences and these courses and the community are really a collection of all my own journey, the things that I've learned along the way. So whether that is, meditation, whether it's inner child work, whether it's the process of self-inquiry or journaling. And so that's what the mission looks like now is really a collection of all of my experiences, which is held in this beautiful container of these 8 stages of awakening love.
That's incredible. And is it a course that people can take right now?
So the I Am Love course we created off the back of the ceremony in 2022, and we ran it as a beta for the first 12 months. So I took 75 people through that course and really wanted to find out if what I knew was powerful and could have a significant impact on people was true, So in my mind, I knew it would work, but I wanted to test it, and I wanted to bring people into that experience in order to refine my own abilities to teach the course, because, really you're trying to bring something that's intangible or formless into words, and it's often difficult to teach those subjects. So I thought I need to create a space where I can guide willing participants through this journey in order for me to learn and to become better at teaching these topics and subjects, but also to receive feedback and to understand what lessons are impacting people, how it's impacting people, what exercises are having the greatest impact on those who are in attendance. So really the course was developed over 12 months. And right now we're in the process of turning that course into an evergreen course that will allow us to reach and impact more people. So we've taken the lessons and the learnings, and we're now going to develop the course in order to then make it widely available. And in the meantime, what I turned my attention towards was the development of our We Are Love community. And so we launched the We Are Love community in January this year. And, we're now growing. We have members coming from all over the world, which is beautiful, and from all different walks of life, a real diverse community. And it's really beautiful. You have people coming together with this variety of backgrounds and experiences, and yet everyone is coming together to unite in love. Everyone is coming together with this openness and this authenticity and this vulnerability, and it's a really beautiful space for healing to take place, and also for this realization of self-love and acceptance and a deeper connection to ourselves, but also expanding that love into our everyday environment with the interactions we have with our loved ones and the communities that we're involved with. So yeah, this is what is alive in my heart in this moment. And the community, as I said, is beginning to grow and develop and reach people from all over the world.
It's so beautiful. And how does those amazing souls find you?
It is a great question. So and this is hopefully something that's going to be useful for people listening, because in 2022, after I had this powerful awakening to my mission to be love in the world, I remember going on Instagram, which I'd had a love-hate relationship with, let's say, before. I had a resistance.
A lot of people can relate to that.
I'd had a resistance to it, right? Like some days I think it would be great, and other days I would be overthinking about what to post and how to post, and how long I would spend in Canva trying to come up with like designs or anything else. And after that ceremony, after I realized that my mission in life is to be love and to teach love and to show people that this journey inwards can take us as individuals into our heart space and to live in a way that is congruent and in alignment with who we really are, I began having this sense that I was to begin posting on Instagram daily. And I would go out for a walk every day, and I still do, Yuli. So I go out for a long walk, probably 45 minutes to an hour. And on these walks, I noticed that I would have thoughts and insights about life. And it was sometimes from the conversations that I'd be having with clients. It was sometimes from my experience of being a dad or a husband. It would be from my experience of talking to friends and the challenges they may be going through. So I was realizing I'm having these thoughts, and I thought, I'm going to just begin filming these thoughts out aloud whilst I walk. And so I began doing that. I began filming myself every day, a 60-second or 90-second reel on Instagram. I taught myself how to do a reel, and I began posting, and I put some nice music to it, and I began quoting some of the spiritual teachers and leaders that I've followed, and also poets. And each day I posted on Instagram, and I did that for a whole year. And in 2023, my Instagram just suddenly out of nowhere, from consistently posting, became noticeable, and somehow must have attracted the algorithm. And before I knew it, I had these videos going viral, and people were paying attention and seemed to be benefiting from the messages I was sharing. And then I had people asking me, how can I work with you? Or do you offer any classes? And at the time, we had already launched a free meditation class that we run every 2 weeks on a Monday. And so that was how people began finding me and really becoming attracted to the message that I was sharing and the work that I'm feeling inspired to put out there.
I just wanted to put a little pause here and acknowledge that what you said, that it took you about a year of consistently posting every day to finally have your breakthrough and get noticed. And to me, it's just such an incredible lesson, because I think a lot of people come to Instagram or any media channel, right? And they just hope for this like quick hit. And they do a couple of posts, they get discouraged very easily. And I think a lot of healers and empaths, right, we're very sensitive to the feedback, and especially to the lack of feedback. And if you post every day, I would say day number 300, you probably at your last row, but you still keep going, right? And listen, it's not a path for everyone, but right, because I mean, some people it would maybe take up too much of their energy. So it's not recommended, but I love that you persevered kind of like through that process too. And you were doing it. It seems like you were just enjoying it, right? You were just doing it as a service to yourself as well as part of your journey. But I find it just incredible that you kind of consistently did it for so long before you saw any value, or as we recovered marketers like to call it, ROI, right? Return on investment.
Do you know, though, you touched upon a couple of key points there, Yuli. One was the enjoyment. So because the walks was something that I did every day, and because I was already thinking about all of these subjects, you know, whether that's acceptance or forgiveness, whether it's about death, whether it's about trust, letting go, surrendering, gratitude, appreciation, like these were all topics that I was thinking about and studying and writing about. The enjoyment factor, I think, was the most important thing. I found a way to express that never felt like too much effort. So I was already walking each day. I was already thinking. And all I had to do was pull out my camera and truly speak from my heart. And so the effort felt, you know, not a huge amount. It felt like there was very few barriers to entry, if you like. And for me, that was, I think, something entirely new. It felt like there was a whole wave of creativity that came from me in that space, because when I made things easy from a technical perspective, I was simply then able just to share. And like you said, this may not be for everyone in terms of filming videos each day or doing Instagram, but if you have a preference, like a way that you wish to create and express, whether that's through writing or whether it's through music or whether it's through videos or whether it's through, you know, whatever medium that calls to you, then if you can create an environment that allows you to do that every day and with the least amount of effort, then I think the enjoyment comes. And once you enjoy the process, you know, you want to do more of it. And that was a real breakthrough for me. And so the creation process required consistency, but it also required non-attachment to the outcome. I thought, I'm going to share this every day because I know that these messages, one, resonate with me, but two, they resonate with my clients that I work with on a one-to-one. So I can trust that they're going to resonate with someone. And as long as I keep on posting these, then they're going to arrive into the laps or into the hands of someone that maybe needs to hear this message today. And I still take that approach today when I think of something that pops into my mind, because I go out on my walk with no agenda and an idea comes into mind and I don't even overthink it. I think, okay, that's today's message. Someone needs to hear this today. And I create from that place. And so the consistency is key, but also finding that enjoyment and that love for what you're expressing, I think is essential.
It's such a beautiful and important message, because I think it's something a lot of people feel pressure and struggling with that, struggling finding the right formats, finding consistency, finding a space for it in their daily lives. And it seems like you made it really part of your own like mindfulness routine. And that's why it was successful, because it was just your own reflection, right? It's almost like a form of journaling on camera.
Basically, that was it. You know, that was it. It was like, this is what's in my mind and I'm going to put it out there. And it felt way less pressurized than what I previously felt around social media, where I would overthink, what I needed to share or the message, or I would overthink how it may be perceived, or I would overthink. And all of that just dissolved when I began speaking from my heart and sharing what was really true to me.
Amazing. So let's just jump back a little bit to the 75 people that you led in this beta test group, right? Can you share what was their experience and what was your learnings from giving this course for a whole year, right? So you did this kind of experiment to see, are there any profound learnings that you took from that, or something that completely you changed your mind about after hearing some of the feedback, or any transformational stories that you can share?
Yeah. There's a number of transformational stories from that. And, one that comes to mind as you asked this was, we had one of our members come through the experience and they were having difficulties in their relationship. They were feeling out of alignment with their husband. And when people came into the course, I invited them to trust the process. And I also said that everything that they're looking for is here and now. This is not a linear journey. It's not a linear process, a little bit like what you said at the beginning of the podcast. And I said, but if you open yourself up to this inner journey, I promise you that things in life will begin to change. And it may be subtle shifts at first, and it may be something that you don't recognize immediately. But when we begin to change on the inside and we begin to live more in our being, or in this space of presence and awareness, it will be felt by the other people around you. So I share this at the beginning of the course, right? And of course, there's some people feeling skeptical about it. There's some people thinking, I want to know exactly what it's going to look like and where I'm going to get to. And over the course of this experience, this individual that I mentioned began sharing how the relationship between her and her husband was beginning to change. And she would often say, it feels like it's magic, Alister. Like there's just a different way that we're communicating, and we're feeling more intimate. And there's an interest and a curiosity coming from him in the journey that I'm on. And by the end of the course, the relationship had transformed, because really what had happened is these internal barriers had dissolved, and there was an opening for these individuals to unite back into love, to actually remember that they share their being with one another. And the impact of that is huge, because these are individuals who've been married for 20, 30, 40 years. I think it was 30 or 40 years. And suddenly they feel back in love with one another again. Suddenly feel like they've got this sense of companionship and intimacy that maybe had been lost because of the noise of the mind, or because of the everyday experiences and the pressures and the stress that comes. So, that came to mind as you asked, Julie, and this has been something that we've seen with many of our members in the We Are Love community, is that the way that they feel about themselves and the love and the self-acceptance that they have for themselves often then translates into deeper connections with the people that are closest to them. And we're hearing it from all of our members, that this process of self-inquiry, this realization of our essential nature, which is love, then begins to filter out into our relationships and our everyday experiences. Yeah, that would be one example.
This resonates so much, and it's something I experienced myself. And I often joke that, the relationship with my husband is like, have this, like, it's a side effect of my inner work, right? So we have this now this newfound connection that, we haven't had before, or it evolved, or, and especially anyone who has been in a long relationship and gone through having children together and how that changes your relationship, right? And not always, even though they're beautiful beings, but it creates a lot of stress in a relationship and that love connection, right? And to me, since getting on this journey and really doing the internal work, like it's my job, like it's my everyday job, but I never expected it to somehow, it never occurred to me that it's going to have a profound effect on my love relationship as well. So I can definitely relate to that. And I think that just a very beautiful story. And some days, people come to this work because, like you said, they're in a relationship they're not fulfilling. And they're looking like, how do I change this person, right?
Yeah.
That's
how
often
do I change the
question.
external?
And, when you realize through this work, the person is perfectly fine. Right? It's us that needs to be changed and the energy between us. So
yeah,
definitely.
And it's a powerful share as well, Yuli, because I think you've just spoke to the realization that most of the 75 people who came through the I Am Love course had at some point on the journey. It was the realization that, oh, wow, life is changing because I'm changing on the inside. And they were beginning to experience a whole new way of being in the world that was in some cases counterintuitive to what they'd been told and how they'd lived their lives. And so, for some it was discombobulating and it felt like, that they were being challenged in a way that was really making them question, life and how they're living. And of course, this was done with, so much compassion and love and holding that safe container in that space for all of the uncomfortable emotions and feelings and thoughts to arise as well. Because I think when I talk about love, it can sometimes be misinterpreted as the positive, high vibration journey. When I talk about love, for me, it's one of the most courageous journeys that one can go on. It's one of the most difficult paths to walk, the path to love within, ourselves, to recognize our true nature, because we have to go through all the mud and the darkness and the shadows, and we have to allow space for all of that to be as it is as well. And so, yeah, I think people came into the course thinking that the title was I Am Love, and I think some of them thought this is going to be lovely. And then, wow, it's like, we are doing deep work here. This is real.
Yes.
And we're healing, and we're connecting to parts of ourselves that have been deemed as unlovable or have been rejected or have been pushed away. And we're dissolving these barriers within ourselves. And it's a beautiful experience to witness.
Yes. And something that also really touched as you were talking about it just now is this courage, right? That it sounds like, love is such like overused word, right? But yet it's so difficult for so many people to express love, myself included.
Yeah.
Someone, who grew up in an environment that was not loving and nurturing, that may be more harsh, and it wasn't part of their DNA. It's a real difficulty. And not to be, stereotypical, but also a lot of men have been challenged with that. So I find you to be really one of the finest examples of the male species who talks about love so comfortably. and not only talks about it comfortably, creates a whole movement about love, and yet manages to be kind of like in your masculine self and kind of combine all of those qualities in one, which I really admire. So can you talk about the process and the journey, how you got to this place that you're so comfortable in, creating the love movement, and it blends so well with who you are. It feels authentic. It doesn't feel like one of those, rosy, fluffy love movements. It feels real. It feels really heart-centered and heart-connected. And I think is very empowering and inspiring a lot of people. Can you talk, what did it take for you to get to that place of comfort with this idea?
Yeah. How long have we got, Yuli?
I realized it was a loaded question. It goes back like centuries, probably. Let's start with this lifetime, okay?
I'll start with this lifetime. Do you know, so first of all, 16 years ago or 15 years ago, I never thought I would be doing what I am now, right? I mean, this was not the plan or the vision for life that I would have held. And I first began walking this path. I'd always been interested in personal development, actually, from a young age. I was very entrepreneurial from a very young age. You know, even I had a car washing business when I was like 11 years old, you know, these sorts of things, which you hear quite synonymous with other entrepreneurs, but that was me. I was looking to make money, and I had little friends employed in these business ventures. And so I'd always had this entrepreneurial spirit. But my path onto this journey of healing and awakening began with meditation in 2010, or around 2010, 2011. And really, I first came across meditation because I was working in London as an executive for a marketing agency. And I was feeling so stressed and overwhelmed in the job role that I was in. I was a young executive. I'd been promoted into a leadership position. I'd been handed a deal that I had to put together, which was worth £1 million to the marketing agency I was with. And I was under so much pressure to make this thing happen that I was losing myself in my mind. As soon as I woke up, I was thinking about work and the stress. You know, I would work from 6 a.m. through to 12 at night. I'd be on calls to clients at 10 in the evening. My mind was whirring. And then to find some peace, I would then party at the weekends. And so my life was work hard, party harder, return to work. You know, and that went on. And my body was beginning to show the effects of it in terms of I ended up in hospital a couple of times. I was definitely unable to focus. I was full of anxiety and concern about, you know, not putting this deal together. And my girlfriend at the time said, you know, Ali, you're changing. Because I was always known as a very optimistic, outgoing, considerate, compassionate person. But she said, you're changing. She said, you can't even focus on our conversations. Like you're not present anymore. And she said, I think you should try meditation. And that was the moment that got me to think about meditation and something alternative that was so out of my agenda. Like it wasn't even something I'd considered or thought about. And so when she first said it, even though it really struck me, I resisted it. And then, you know, she said a few days later, you know, there's a guy called Deepak Chopra who runs a 21-day meditation challenge. And it was the word challenge that got me, you know, like she kind of Trojan horsed me. And so my meditation journey began with Deepak Chopra, guided meditations. And I remember the first time I put the headphones in and I began listening to Deepak speak. And, you know, this gentleman who was speaking in this very soft, comforting voice and talking about concepts that I genuinely did not know anything about, you know, the field of pure potentiality, the cosmos. Like these were so foreign to me that when I began listening, I thought, what would my friends think? And even that was, you know, quite enlightening to realize that I worried what people would think. And so that was my journey into meditation. And really that began forging this path. Now, cut a long story really short, it led me to becoming fascinated with meditation and Eastern mysticism. I began becoming more open to the possibility that I'm not this finite being, this individual that just once we die, it's all over. And so I began reading and then, you know, one of the main stages of my awakening was sitting in an ayahuasca ceremony and really opening myself up to a process of healing that I never expected. And that was in 2014. And from that moment on, I began healing and I began going on a deep journey within, and I recruited people around me. I found a spiritual mentor. I engaged with a healer, an intuitive healer. I began practicing different practices that, to be honest, were so new to me, such as Kundalini yoga, Kriya yoga. I began doing breath work. I began doing all of these weird and wonderful things that none of my other friends were doing. And through the process, I began recognizing that I never loved myself. I never fully accepted myself. And so that was my journey. And I did the work after that first plant medicine ceremony. And then in 2022, and this is kind of where this all culminated, was I sat in another ceremony. And in that ceremony, I had a full dissolution of my body and mind, and a samadhi or a nirvana experience that was oneness. And in that space, I was one with everything. And the energy that was omnipresent was love. And as I came back into being conscious and aware, I was shown, this is your mission. Be love. And the words be love kept on repeating, and it said, do not dim your light for anyone. Share this message of love. And it showed me how I had all the experience of running business and being able to create courses and everything else. And I thought, I have everything that I need to do this. I just need to share this message. And so coming back to how am I so comfortable? I'm so comfortable because I've been called to do this. And even if I didn't want to,
you had no choice.
I had no choice. I was hired, I was summoned. And that is the mission. And I remember after the ceremony, I've left messages for my one-to-one clients who are executives, Fortune 500 companies. And I was just sharing my love with them. Of course, I contacted my family and everyone else. But I was like, this is who we are. We're love. Like, this is our essential nature. And this is the answer to all of the problems and the challenges that we're facing on a humanitarian and planetary level. Like, if we connect to this, then everything resolves itself. And so I thought, okay, I've got to share this message and I've got to be comfortable with it.
That's incredible. And I think a lot of people who are on a mission, right, in this awakening times, I think all of us had a similar experience of something that shakes you up, whether it's a medicine ceremony or other events, but a lot of it is actually retreats. For me, it was also a retreat, a pure meditation retreat that totally kind of changed my consciousness and put me on a path. But I think a lot of us have this feeling of being summoned to something greater than us, right? And then anything else is just irrelevant. And we find a way to bring it into shape and form, because sometimes you don't always get the download, but also the shape and form. Right? Sometimes you have to piece it all together. But it seemed like because you had your previous business experience, it kind of formed into something very concrete, into that inspired action that I was talking about before. It seemed like that happened pretty quickly, which is amazing. And you can actually share it with people and bring it to the world.
Yeah, it's powerful. I think, like you said, Julie, when you see how your awakening has informed what you're doing now, I think part of the challenge that we have is sometimes just staying out of our own way. Like we have these powerful downloads, or we have this experience that awakens us to an idea or to a sense of mission. And I remember after the ceremony sharing on social media and also through my email list, my experience. And I remember a good friend of mine who's also in this space sent me a message that just said, stay awake. And that remained with me, because what I interpreted that was that often when we have those experiences of inspiration, in that moment, there's no more potent, powerful energy of creation available. And yet sometimes we come back into the real world and our minds come back online and we begin to overthink things or doubt and I remember his message saying, stay awake. And I thought, that's it. Stay awake. Like, don't dilute this energy. Take that into everything that you create now, Ali. Take it into every message that you create, every social media post that you make. Take it into every email that you write. Take it into every conversation that you have. Take it in. So this is a daily reminder for me. It's like, stay awake. Keep sharing the love. Even on days where I don't feel like it. What can I do to keep me moving in this direction with this mission?
Yes, that is a very beautiful message. I'm taking it in right now too. It's a powerful one. So with this message of staying awake, what is next for you with this love movement? So you have a evergreen course that is about to launch, right? You mentioned also foundation, you mentioned some other things. Can you share what's coming up for you?
Yeah, so the We Are Love community is where the focus is on right now. So we opened up to founding members. The founding members will be, the offer will be closing down soon. And the idea is that we then just continue to grow the membership and reach as many people as possible. So that's really the key focus is how do we invite more people into this space with us and for them to go through the same transformation and experience, but in a really beautiful environment with our other members. So that's the main focus is continuing to invite people into this space with us in the We Are Love community. I did mention the foundation and that's something that my wife and I are currently working on. And last September, we created our first We Are Love not-for-profit retreat and we delivered it in a beautiful retreat center in Italy called Mandali, which if you get the chance to look at it, it's such a beautiful center. It's also a not-for-profit. And we partnered with a charity partner called 2020 Levels, who I've worked with now for the past 5 or 6 years. And 2020 Levels basically serve young people from inner city London. These are young Black people and young people of ethnic minority. And they create programs that help these young people to realize their potential. And, a lot of these young people are underrepresented. And so 2020 Levels creates opportunities for them, both in life and also in business. And we've partnered with them for like 5 or 6 years now. And so I reached out to the founder, Juro from 2020 Levels, who's an amazing human. And I said, we'd love to create a retreat for young people. And I have a retreat center that is open to hosting us. Would you be up for helping us put this together? And so we did. So we took 15 young people from 2020's alumni over to Mandali in Italy. And we delivered the 8 stages of awakening love in a live environment with 15 young people. And it was so powerful because for me, I think a challenge we have in this industry of well-being and spirituality is that it's accessible to a lot of people who look the same, unfortunately, people who have the resources in order to go on retreat. I feel so fortunate that I've been able to participate in programs and retreats that have helped me awaken to this essential nature, but there are so many people that don't. And so, a big purpose for me is how do we make this work more available, and especially to young people that maybe don't have access to this or they don't have an awareness of it. And so that was our first retreat in September. It was a huge success. We had 15 young people and we'll run our second one in November at Mandali again this year with another 15 young people. And so my hope is that our We Are Love community over time also powers the foundation and that we are able to reinvest, our resources, our finance, everything into making more of these experiences available to young people and especially young people who are underrepresented. So that's the big purpose and mission.
That is amazing. And it's just, it's so inspiring to hear you and so many overlaps with what we're doing as well. I mean, it hasn't been announced yet, but we're also in the works for Healers Foundation with similar mission to bring inclusivity to the field. In our case is also supporting people that from those communities that would like to go into healing space and they just can't afford to pay, for a certificate or a healing school. And they could use those skills and also help spread them in their own communities. So that's part of our mission as well that I'm trying to build. But I agree with you completely, just making this community more, the holistic community, more inclusive. It's a very powerful mission. So thank you for doing that.
Oh, thank you as well, Yuli, for doing what you're doing. And one thing I've found is the power in collaboration with this. Without Mandali, the retreat center, without 2020 levels, that vision couldn't have been realized. And I really feel like, what you're doing at Healist is so powerful to bring people together in community and to realize that actually together we're stronger. And I think, that for me is central to our mission as well. How do we partner? How do we collaborate? How do we support? How do we lift each other up? I love the quote where they say, a rising tide lifts all boats. And for me, that's at the heart of what we're doing. Like, how can we help lift each other up and really enable this love or this sense of connection to spread far and wide?
Yes, this is such a perfect and beautiful message, Alister. It's been such a joy. I feel like we can talk forever. There's just so much overlaps in our missions. And speaking of collaboration, I would love to find ways to collaborate with our community. I think we both are on a similar path. And it's just, it's such a treat to have your pure love vibrations on this podcast and in my life in general. So thank you for bringing it and sharing your message.
Thank you so much, Yuli. I'm really grateful for the opportunity to speak. And likewise, I'm excited about what we're going to do together and to stay connected. So thank you. And thank you to everyone who's listened today as well.